Hello, welcome to the First Lady Point of View show, everyone. I'm your host, the First Lady Felicia K. This is where you can expect culture, music, news, reviews, fashion, and exclusive interviews. And I got an exclusive that's going to blow the roof off tonight, so I'm not going to hold you. We're going to get right into it after this short break. Stick around.
You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. First Lady Point of View. You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. First Lady Point of View. Culture, music, news, reviews. You tuned in. It's the First Lady Point of View. You tuned in. First Lady Point of View. It's the First Lady Point of View. 10, yeah, we always on time. First Lady Felicia K on the line. You tuned in. First Lady Point of View.
It's the First Lady Point of View.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we got a very special guest. I mean, come on, we are starting season 3 off with a bang. We got none other than Mayor-elect. I'm saying elect because I already dreamed this, but candidate and hopeful, Dr. Flo Cofer in the building. Thank you so much, Queen, for stopping by. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh man, I just love your energy. I want people to get that vibe that I'm experiencing today. So I'm gonna do stuff a little bit different today.
Let's do
we're gonna talk about everything that you got going on with the campaign and all that. But I also want to get a little bit want my followers, my viewers to get to know you, the queen that I'm experiencing that's just making my cup runneth over. First off, tell everybody where you're from originally.
So I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I grew up in the Hill District. It's the neighborhood that August Wilson wrote the Century series, which include Fences about.
Okay.
So that was always the pride of my growing up, was every time August Wilson came out with a new play, some of the ones that came out while I was alive, my mom and dad would always take me to the Pittsburgh Public Theater to be able to go see those plays, because they were literally about the neighborhood that we were living in. And both of my parents are teachers. My mom taught 8th grade English and my dad taught 8th grade math.
Oh, wow.
And that's how they met.
Oh.
My dad would come over during my mom's prep periods and flirt with her a little bit.
Okay.
And my mom was a little dense, so she didn't know she was being flirted with. And so eventually she said to the woman who would become my godmother, why doesn't this man have classes of his own to prep for? Why is he always bothering me while I'm trying to prep? And she said, yeah, I think he likes you. And my mom was like, oh, he's kind of handsome. And then they got married and had me. And I was like, were it not for that conversation, my mom would still be mad 40 years later about that man who wouldn't stop bothering her during her prep periods.
So are you the only child?
I am their only child.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so so it's odd that you, did you ever educate, were you a teacher?
No, I was not. I was not.
Odd. So you've always been a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you are a epidemiologist. Did I say that correct?
I am an epidemiologist. She said it
My.
great.
I did it. I got it right. She made sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
epidemiologist.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
that's right.
So exactly for those that don't know, what is that?
Okay, I always like to do this. The official definition of an epidemiologist is that we study the distribution, determinants, and conditions of the spread of disease in human populations.
Okay.
But the way that I usually describe it to people is that public health is about maximizing the two things that matter most to us. The number of years in your life and the amount of life in your years, right? So how good we live and how long we live. And so epidemiologists are the ones who look at all the data, understand how the patterns that we see, right? Why is it that people who live here aren't living as long as people who live here? Why is it that if you eat certain foods, you live longer than other people who don't? And we're the ones who discover the patterns and say, hey, here are the things that are making us sick, and here are the things that are making us healthy. And we want to do more of the things that make us healthy and fewer of the things that make us sick.
Okay, what made you decide that's what you wanted to do? Because that's just heavy, right? That just seems like, oh, girl, you got to be smart.
Well, I don't know about all that, but you know, it's a combination. There's a saying in a lot of professions, but especially in public health, of tell me about your early life experiences and how you turn them into a career. Okay. And for me, that's really true. So I mentioned that my parents were teachers. You know, when I was 11, we were at my aunt's birthday dinner, and my dad collapsed, and he died of heart disease. And he was 47.
Oh,
and I was 11. And so I think about that experience because it's one of the most, you know, heartbreaking and traumatic experiences that anybody can have. Not only have you lost your parent, but you watched it happen, and it was unexpected, right? And so for me, my entire life up to that point, I had watched my dad struggle with this addiction to cigarettes. He started smoking when he was about the same age I was when he died, 11 or 12. And my dad would be in his 70s if he were alive today. And so, there was no Surgeon General's warning on the pack of cigarettes. Yeah. In fact, at the time, people were telling you cigarettes are good for you, smoke another one and have one on the airplane and light up before you go to school and before you go to work, right? And so he never got a chance for some of the things that I was born knowing, or, growing up knowing cigarettes are bad for you and they cause all these things. But he didn't have that benefit. And so he really struggled with that addiction. And so for me, that was kind of the first, I think, push in the direction of public health is my dad didn't live as long as he should have. And I had to experience the aftermath of that. So I wanted people to live better and live longer. But the second thing I think that really pushed me into it was I was in college. And at that point, I was a Spelman. Shout out to the HBCUs, the HBCUs for women. And I was at Spelman. I was home for the summer, and I was helping my mom. She was, reviewing some scholarship applications for an organization she was in, and I spotted the pattern. This is how like epidemiologists work, right? So I'm reading these applications.
Say you don't have to be smart.
Well, here's the thing. I'm reading these applications, right? And what I'm seeing is there's a lot of people who are Black and Latino students who were saying, when I was in 8th grade, my mom died. When I was in 10th grade, my dad died. When I was in 11th grade, this is part of their application story, talking about their life experiences. It's usually how do you overcome a challenge? What do you want to do, et cetera, right? And I'm like, because I've lost a parent, my eye goes to that, right? In a way that it may not have if I hadn't lost a parent. I just think, oh, that's sad, move on, right? But I'm like, oh. And then I was like, I started doing the math in my head, and I was like, if these parents have died before these kids are graduating from high school like mine, that means most of these parents are probably not 50, right? Because my dad was 35 when he had me. So, my parents had been married a couple of years before they had kids. So, I was just like, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like that I'm noticing. And so I still didn't have anything to do with it. And then thankfully, I had a professor at Spelman who I was bothering while we were in lab because I was a chemistry major. And I was bothering him. We were analyzing these breast milk samples. And I'm bothering him. And finally he says, do you have room in your schedule next semester? Because instead of bothering me, I want you to take this class. And it was at Clark Atlanta across the street. And it was a maternal and child health epidemiology class. And when I saw that syllabus, girl, I was like, these are my people.
Yeah.
Like they were talking about all the topics I was curious about and all the things. And so that was my first introduction. I didn't know what epidemiology was. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I was just like, it wasn't on my radar. But it was. Those are the people who spot the patterns and say, what's going on here? And if we don't like the pattern, let's disrupt it. But if we like the pattern, if we see there's a neighborhood where everybody's living to be 100, what are you doing? And how do we do more of that, right? What's the secret? And that's all epidemiologist is really just spotting the patterns.
Okay. So how does it go hand in hand with where we're going right now? As far as, I know you've worked closely with the current mayor. For quite some time you've worked with Sunberg, is that correct? How many years?
I was on the Mayor's Climate Commission.
Okay.
He appointed me to that. That was a joint with West Sacramento. I worked, obviously closely with his office on Measure U and really trying to push for those dollars to be spent in the right way. And I was also on the Active Transportation Commission before that. Okay. So yeah, it's been a while that I've been working with the city and working with the mayor's offices and all of the council members.
Okay. So did you always kind of know when you were in college that, you already knew where I was going, that the politics was coming, or did you
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I came kicking and screaming, and I was like, this isn't for me. I'm an advocate. I'm a public health professional. I like what I do. This is fun. Like, I'm fine where I am. When people were like, you should run for this, I think you'd be great at that. My own mama was like, I think you'd be great. My childhood friends were like, this is your calling. And I was like, absolutely not. Ain't gonna happen. And I really believe that. Like, that was not me trying to play the coy thing of like, no, not me, please. It was really like, that's not what I want to do.
Right.
And then a friend of mine said, everybody just leave her alone. One day she's going to get mad enough and she'll do it. And you know how you're like, you don't know me. You don't know my life, right? And sure enough, my friends do know me, and they do know my whole life, because that's exactly what happened. I got to a place where we had been working on all of these volunteer positions, offering good advice, bringing community members in saying, this is harming us, this is what we need, here's a good idea, how can we help? And just getting ignored. Police Review Commission, ignored. Measure U Committee, ignored, right? Like, just the Climate Change Committee, yay, you passed it, and then not implementing in the ways that we could, right? And as aggressively as we could. And I just felt frustrated that, like, we could do so much more.
Yeah.
And I think the straw that really broke the camel's back for me was we just had an election. We have all these new people who were on the council. And then kind of their first substantial vote is they decided to buy a tank for the police department. And I was like, I can't live like this.
Yeah.
I can't sit through another 4 years of being told that what is not acceptable is okay, that this is our only option, and that we just need to deal with it.
Right.
Because I do believe more is possible. That's literally how that became my slogan for the campaign, was like, we can do so much better than this.
Yeah.
And so if we have ideas, if we can spot the patterns and disrupt them, if we can listen to our communities instead of ignoring them and treating them like they're a problem, we can actually have people that not only are helping us do things, but are leading the charge and making it possible for us to do more than we ever imagined.
Okay. Well, changing the narrative. I
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
I like that. I saw you when you said that one day, and I said, that's it, changing the narrative. I'm excited about it because every time I hear you talk, all these things, I'm like, yes, that's what we need. That's what we need. Do you get anxious, though? Do you get nervous?
Absolutely.
As what's in front of you?
I
don't
told
give
you,
that.
I told you before the show, every time I speak, my leg shakes a little bit and I get really
That's
nervous
good, though.
beforehand.
That keeps you humble and grounded. And it also, it just makes you more relatable, I think, is when you still get that feeling, you know? You still get that. But have you faced like obstacles that you're willing to share in your campaign that like you would say would be, because you got to understand that this is major for people like little girls that look like us, right?
Absolutely.
I know you said growing up, Spider-Man was your superhero. Well, you know, 20 years from now, there'll be somebody that's 25, 26 that's saying, when I was a little girl, you was her superhero. You got to think, you're the first Black woman to run. We're not gonna say run, but we'll say that's looking like you're the front runner, right? It's looking like that's where God is finna sit you. And yeah, we ready, right? And then you got, before you, I think there was only 3 women in general to hold the position. So you will be the 4th, the first Black one, and the first Black woman. What does that feel like? Does that put a enormous amount of pressure on your shoulders? Or does that give you like a sense of pride and pressure? Is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. And I just want to correct the record. I do love Spider-Man, but I am a big Batman fan. I'm more
Batman.
DC.
Batman.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
love
was Batman. Batman,
I
yes.
love Marvel, but I'm a DC. I just want to make sure, you know.
Yeah, so we don't want to curse Batman, get him mad at us, right?
You know, there is a sense of responsibility.
Right.
That comes along with, you know, people having faith, right? Like there have been times where I have gotten such a warm reception somewhere and that I have gone back and started to tear up a little bit. And I'm like, everybody is so hopeful.
Right.
Like, what if we can't do it? Right? Like what? You know, how will that feel for people? Right? Will it be this letdown? Will people disengage if we don't win? Like, you know, what does that mean? And you know, some wonderful people in my life have reminded me that we're all adults and we can all manage our own emotions. And sometimes we do get disappointed when we want something and things don't work out. But that's not the story right now. And so the story is we are going to work hard and we are going to change the things we can't accept and work hard to, you know, manifest the things that we have control over. And that's what we're really working on. And that's why we're knocking on those doors. But you're absolutely right. There is a responsibility to carry a legacy, right? Callie Carney was the first appointed Black woman to the city council. She wasn't elected, but she was appointed, and she was our first representative as a Black woman. And then we have Lauren Hammond, our first elected Black woman to serve on the council. And while she wasn't out while she served, she's also the first queer person to ever serve on our city council. And then we have, of course, you know, Bonnie Pinnell, who was our second Black woman who was elected. And I think what really stands out to me is that when I started this race for mayor, 2 of the 3 of them were still alive.
Wow.
And now none of them are.
Wow.
And Lauren especially, because I knew, you know, Ms. Carney had been, you know, sick for a while. But and so she hadn't been, as out in the spotlight and all of that, but she was always a shero of mine because Miss Carney didn't play no games. Like she was was like, this is what we're here to do and we're gonna do it, right? And Lauren was very much the same way. But I also had, because she was the president of the National, Women's Political Caucus and others, I had the opportunity to actually get to know her and get to work with her on things. And her death was sudden and unexpected. And it really, I didn't realize how nice it was just to be able to have somebody else who knew firsthand what I was experiencing, and to not have her anymore. But to be the first Black woman running for mayor in the city of Sacramento is big.
Yeah.
And it's also nice to also have people like Heather Fargo still around, who is a woman who served in
yeah,
mayor, who isn't Black, but it's
she's
nice
a woman.
to be
We're
right.
still in that minority class. We're going to pitch to a break. We'll be right back after this short break. I think we might even went over. The conversation is so good. But we're going to go right into a break, and we'll be back with none other than Dr. Flo. And I'm having such a good time. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. Come back. We're going to talk more about politics and what's in the future. All right?
Man, it's lonely. Like, going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
It's the First Lady point of view.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. We are in the building today with none other than Dr. Flo Cofer. I can't just say that. Well, yes, I can. I want to say mayor so bad already, right? I want to claim it. But we want to get right into it because we don't have much time left, but I do want to cover something that is very important to me and you as well, is safety. And I know a lot of that for you is based around controlling the gun violence. Where did that come from? Where did that urge come from for you? I know we talked a little bit about loss as far as heart disease and things of that nature, but the loss as far as, have you experienced the loss due to violence? Oh, okay, let's get into that a little.
Yeah, so I mentioned, I'm from the Hill District, and the Hill District is a neighborhood that's very much like Del Paso Heights, which is why Del Paso Heights has a real fond place in my heart.
Okay, me too.
I love it. That has all these shops and stuff that then hasn't been kept up in the same way, right? We had all of that. And so I lost two very close friends to gun violence.
Okay.
One just a few weeks before he graduated from high school, and another was, several years later, and she was a really good friend of mine. And these are people that I went to school with, that I lived in the neighborhood with, and, I especially, the impact of being left with their parents. And growing old with their parents, but not with my peers, has really been hard for me when I go back to Pittsburgh and when I've spent time with them. But what stands out to me, and I was really honored to have been asked, but also it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, was helping my friend Tina's mom write the victim impact statement for how this loss of her child impacted her. And my mom and I worked on it. We tag teamed. I was like, Mom, I got the first draft. I'm emotionally tapped. You take the next one. Okay, I'll come back and do it. Because it was just so incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And that's an experience I wouldn't wish on anyone. And so living in Sacramento from the end of 2017 until the beginning of 2020, when we went over 2 years, with no youth homicides in Sacramento, was a big deal.
Yeah.
And if you take not having gun violence for granted, you may not have even noticed. But for those of us who are paying attention and who are experiencing it and who are impacted, that means there were no kids for that 2 years who were hanging RIP banners on their high school, the high school fences. That means that there were no families going to funerals, picking out caskets for kids that they should have been, picking out trade schools and colleges
Prom
for, right?
dresses,
And prom
yeah.
dresses and all of those things, right? That there's just so, it's not just what didn't happen, it's also what did, right? What continued on in those lives. And so when I look and I see that we had that here, not some Scandinavian country that doesn't look demographically like us, not some far off place, right here in Sacramento, and that we didn't continue doing what was working, that makes me angry.
I bet.
Because it costs money and it costs people.
Right.
When we don't, this is expensive, right? In the truest sense of the word, money and people. And it doesn't make sense not to, because we want to live in safe communities. And so that's why it's important to me that we invest in having a robust public safety approach and public safety department. And that's not just police. And it's not because of all the challenges with our department, and there are plenty of cultural challenges with our police department, but it's also because as a public health professional, we understand that prevention is so much powerful than response.
Right.
You and I didn't wake up this morning hoping to call 911. In fact, if we have to, it means we either had a medical emergency or a safety emergency, but something went wrong, and now we're calling 911.
Right.
And so the question always is, how many times can we prevent anybody needing to call for help because a bad thing didn't happen? And then the second question is, if it does happen, how do we make sure that the right person with the right tools and the right training is the one who responds, right? If you're having a medical emergency, you want a medical professional to show up.
Yes.
If you're having a mental health emergency, you want a mental health professional to show
Yes.
up, right? You don't want a fire truck to show up, right? When you know, like, and if you're having a fire, you don't want, you know, a mental health professional to show up and look at the fire and go, wow, that's bad, right? You want the fire department to show up. And fire does do some medical stuff too, but you know, like, you want to have the right person trained to respond. And so to me, that's what public safety looks like. It looks like feeling safe and experiencing a freedom from threat and oppression. And then secondly, making sure that when you do experience the trouble that we couldn't prevent, that you get help immediately, and it's the right kind of help. And that's what I want to build for Sacramento, and it would save us money and save us lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you think, I know one of your other passions is the homelessness and the unhoused. Do you think sometimes the two go together, like the safety and the homelessness? Do they go together for you?
They absolutely do, because people who are experiencing homelessness are far more likely to be victims of crime and to experience all kinds of abuses, not just while being outside, but also from some of our institutions. The sweeps are harmful to them. Right now, Camp Resolution, which is over in North Sacramento, is being booted out of the place that they have a lease because there were threats that came down from the district attorney's office, and the city doesn't want to, renew their lease. And these threats were baseless. They were just like, we think that it's not environmentally safe for them to be there, even though the water board has cleared them and come up with a remedy to allow them to stay there safely. And so now people are being displaced from their homes. And there was a study that came out from the Journal of the American Medical Association last year. It was a 10-year cohort that showed that sweeps cause people to die. They cause hospitalizations, they cause overdose deaths, and they cause all-cause mortality. So just death in general. And so this is not it's not like, oh, they're gonna move, it's fine. It's like, some of them won't live because of this displacement. Yeah. It's stressful and harmful. And so I'm really committed to, again, us getting people into safe spaces so they can be well cared for, and also preventing new people from joining them, because for every one person we rehouse, 3 more people become homeless. And then, lastly, I'm really interested in making sure that we build permanent, supportive, affordable housing.
Yes, yes. And so what does that look like for you in the next 5 years? What would you like to see happen?
I love this question. Thank you so much for asking. First and foremost, I believe in setting ambitious goals. Okay. And we have, of the 10,000 people experiencing homelessness, 1,500 of them are kids or families with kids. And I firmly believe that in the capital of the 4th largest economy on planet Earth, we can do better than letting kids not have a roof over their heads. Absolutely. And so the goal I am setting, and I say it everywhere I go, is that by the end of my first term as your mayor, we will not have kids sleeping on our streets. And I believe that our business community and our unions and our neighborhood associations and our community groups and our schools and universities and community colleges, everybody can rally together to be able to help us make that happen.
I absolutely agree with
I think
that.
we can do even better than that.
Yes.
But we're going to start with this ambitious goal of not having any kids sleeping on our streets. And what can we do when we come together and say, let's put all of our power towards this goal?
Yeah. We can move mountains.
We can move mountains. This is a city where 30,000 people wake up early on Thanksgiving morning to do Run to Feed the Hungry to support the food bank.
Yeah.
We're not a bunch of people who are lazy or unwilling to do the hard work of supporting our communities. We give so much money during Big Day of Giving, even though most people here work in the public sector and are not wealthy.
Yeah.
Like, this is a generous and caring community.
Yeah, and we could do a lot more. We could do a lot more. We just got to fix that disconnect in the politics with the people. I love when you said that. We got to change the narrative, and changing the narrative is being able to listen to other people's ideas and their needs and where they feel that the politicians and the government is failing them at. You don't know. You can't just sit back and say, well, this, and this. You got to get out there and hear what the people say. We need to feel safe. We need to be housed. We need our loved ones to be housed. We don't want people just randomly laying out in the streets. Because one thing about it's one paycheck away for most people, right? You can get laid off tomorrow, and that could be the matter of sleeping on the curb. Some people don't got a nice nest egg in savings, especially after the pandemic. You know, so it is imperative that we come together and we might make the right choice when we're looking for who we're gonna vote for. We gotta analyze all of that. We can't just vote for what's popular or what somebody told us. We gotta look at what is best, and I think you're best.
And nothing about us without us is
Right.
essentially what you're saying. Is like, we should not be, I mean, even when we're talking about homelessness and Camp Resolution, it's really important. I always tell people, listen to the residents of Camp Resolution.
Yeah.
We should be standing with and supporting them, not overshouting them or saying what's best for them.
Right.
Right? Because they are members of our community, and we would not like it if somebody came in and told us what's best for us.
Right.
We are each the captains of our own lives, and let's be respectful and let's stand with and support people and also invite them into the conversation. There's nothing that irritates me more than people who come up with solutions for homelessness and haven't talked to a single person experiencing homelessness.
Don't even want to get next
Now you
to
want to
them.
cure poverty and you don't know no poor people. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like, this doesn't make any sense. The people who you are, if you're trying to serve them, you should also be in communication with them, and they should be part of coming up with these solutions. And when we do that, we come up with better solutions. We have more people who own those solutions and help us make them successful.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Flo. I want to say Mayor Dr. Flo Cofer for joining the show today. It's been just a total delight. But I want you to tell everybody about your website. We're going to have your code up and everything. But
Yes.
tell
Okay.
everybody how they can get involved with the campaign, with the movement, and everything we got going on and what we're looking forward to. Trevor, all right there.
Okay, so we are running for mayor. I say that everywhere I go because I am one person, and yes, my name is on the ballot, but there were over 30,000 people. I think it's 30,270. I got to get the exact number of people who cast a ballot and voted for me in March. And I am thankful to each and every one of you because I do not take that for granted. And so this is our campaign. It means that we all take a responsibility for organizing, because it's not just about getting to November 5th. It's about getting the 1,500 kids on the street off the street. And so I am inviting all of you to come into our campaign. Go to floformayor.com and sign up, and then we will be letting you know about upcoming volunteer opportunities. We have fun. This is a fun campaign. We're gonna dance, we're gonna sing, we're gonna connect with each other, we're gonna hug. It is a great time because what we are building is a community together, not just a campaign. And so I invite you to come in, build this community with us, do this work with us, floformayor.com. Find us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter or X now, we are on Facebook. Join us, because this is a place where your voice is heard, where you matter, and we would love to have you be a part of making this city all that we all know it can be.
Oh, man, thank you. You know what? I'm going to leave it right there. I don't got nothing else to say. We're going to wrap it right there. And once again, we want to thank the lovely Dr. Flo for stopping by and having a good time with us. You know, we didn't make it too tense. We had a lot of fun, and I enjoyed myself. I hope you all did as well. Make sure you guys get out to vote. If you haven't already registered, please make sure you guys take care of your business, because you can't complain about change if you're not a part of the change, all right? It's as simple as that, and make sure you tap in with all the websites and the social sites. And, yeah, we're rooting for Dr. Flo for mayor. Until next time, I want to thank you all once again. We're starting off season 3 with a bang. Peace, one love. May God bless your hustle. I'm out of here. Reach back for those that are coming up behind you, and pay homage to those who did it before you. It's free, and you'll feel good about yourself. I promise you will. We out of here. Bye-bye.
You tuned in. It's the First Lady point of view. First Lady point of view. You tuned in. It's the First Lady point of view. First Lady point of view. Culture, music, news, reviews. You tuned in. It's the First Lady point of view. You tuned in. First Lady point of view. It's the First Lady point of view. Tapped in, yeah, we always on time. First Lady Felicia K on the line. Wanna know what's poppin'? Tap in for the scoop on all the hot topics. The latest fashion, new music reviews. The hottest artists and exclusive interviews. You came to the right spot. First Lady on deck, keep it locked.